west of
No,
Yeah.
I have not. No, I'd love to see that.
There's some phenomenal. Years ago, I had a client that really wanted to go and see some of the cave paintings, and so we did a bunch of research and got hooked up with a federally licensed guide there in Mulegé, and went and saw some really, really cool. There was one area that it was. I'm going to say it was a mile, and it probably wasn't a mile long. It was probably really more like a couple hundred yards long, but it was a boulder field, bunch of rocks that were stacked, on top of each other, more or less like a long wall, and then petroglyphs that were drawn on these rocks in a bunch of different weird facing directions, and basically the story behind it was that it was once a rock wall that had a pathway along it, and it was a thoroughfare for the mountain people coming out to the coast, and they kind of used this wall as a communication board. And at some point in the past, there was an earthquake, and this wall fell apart, or this, it was a natural wall, and all the pieces just crumbled down onto the ground. And so now these petroglyphs that were drawn hundreds or thousands of years ago, instead of being, facing the world the way they were when they were created, now they're jumbled up and garbled in a stack of rocks. But it was interesting to listen to the stories of the guide telling us about how they could find these certain pictures and attribute them to things that happen throughout the season, or like someone was putting a message here that fishing was good this year or something like that. Anyways, very, very highly recommend next time you're in the Mulegé area. I think there's actually a tourism office that you can set up a tour for. You cannot go to these petroglyphs by yourself. You have to go with a guide.
Yep.
The other one we visited, it was, again, west of Mulegé out in the mountains, and that's a beautiful region there. If you cross over from Mulegé to the Pacific side, the dirt road is known as the Ballena Road, which is interesting because the from what I understand, that was the route that they took across the peninsula when I'm going to say hunting, but fishing for whales was a part of their life, so they call that road the Ballena Road. Anyways, I got to go on another one where we hiked for like 2 miles. We drove for about 30 minutes west, and then hiked for like 2 miles, and then had to get in a rowboat and row across this little lake, and then go back in this canyon. But it was, I believe it's the first known instance of a buffalo being recorded in North America. There's some. You'd have to go find it out for yourself.
Yeah.
I got to see something that was special. I just don't remember what it was.
Yeah. Well, that happens every trip down there. That's for sure.
Well, I think it's cool that you are, as a professional doing business in Mexico, you're not flying in and flying out, or driving over and driving back once a week or whatever it is, and not really immersing yourself in the culture. I'm glad to know that you are. Really solidified there in Tecate, and then also this, the exploration that you're doing. I'm happy for you, proud of you, and glad you're doing it, and want to go with you again in the future here at some point. I ask everybody that comes on the podcast, super important question, and I'm curious because you're close to my favorite, and I'm wondering if it could be the same. Where is the best taco in Baja? And there's some good places in Tecate. I know it.
Oh, man, yeah. Well, tacos down there on the border towns, especially Tecate, obviously, I'm pretty biased, but it's very, very different than anything that you're going to get in the States, or even different parts of Mexico. Different parts of Baja have different tacos.
Yep.
I don't know. My favorite taco probably would be La Gorrita there in Tecate.
Yep. I know
the owner. That's really, really good. And then, the other really good tacos that I don't get a chance to go up there very often is, well, actually, it was just up there a couple months ago. There's a place up in La Rumorosa.
Oh, you're gonna nail it. What is it called?
Oh my gosh, I'd have to. It was
Lalos.
just a stop in there.
Lalos.
Oh yeah, that's it. So that's
tacos al vapor.
Now that's very, very different. Those are very, very different.
Oh man, I'm so stoked. And it was kind of like trick question because I knew you, just based on geographics, you run the chance of heading out that direction quite often. Lalo's I've eaten tacos up and down that peninsula. Not a ton on mainland, but I've been to mainland, Guadalajara and San Miguel de Allende and Oaxaca, and I can say without a doubt the best taco in my opinion. And it's so funny, I keep saying this. Lalo's needs to start paying me, but that taco al vapor there, it is by far, in my opinion, the best taco that I've ever had anywhere in Mexico, and for sure in Baja. And I'm stoked that you've thought of it too, or that you're the first person that knew of it. So, bitching.
Well, and I didn't really find it on my own. We take we take the guys down to San Felipe every year, and it's typically a big bus because we've got about 60 guys down there. And back when we took, I think, 25 guys down there, that's where they wanted to stop for lunch, and that was years ago.
That's right.
So we have to get off the main road, and that's where they wanted to head. So, and I'm like, why the heck are we driving way out here for this? But it's definitely good. I don't know if it's the matzah. It's very, very different. The matzah down there in Tecate is very, very different than anywhere else.
So how's the Tecate brewery doing these days? I had guys that worked for our family business that were from Tecate, and I probably over the course of the last 30 years have met and spent time with at least 15 to 20 people from Tecate, and every one of them at one point in their life worked in that brewery. Is it still functioning? I'm assuming it is. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's probably the largest employer there in Tecate. Yeah. Everybody somewhere or another is involved, with the brewery there. Heineken recently purchased it. So. Oh wow. They're brewing Amstel. It's probably doubled in size over the last 24 months. So,
I remember some of the guys told me too they were allowed to drink beer while they were working there back in the early days. Can you imagine, man?
I could not imagine.
And they may have been lying too. Maybe they were just drinking beer and thought it was legal or okay.
Thought it was the cool thing to do. But yeah, that water, the water that comes out of the ground there in those wells is pretty special. I know that's why the brewery's there, but they're starting to brew Ultra there as well now, because Ultra is very, very, very popular beer in Mexico. And I don't know why, but it is. They like their Ultra beer there too, and obviously Tecate comes out of there.
So what is next for Auto Vac?
Oh, that's a good question. Right now, we're just enjoying the growth that we're seeing. We're probably I don't know. It's something that we're thinking about right now. I mean, life is good. I love manufacturing down there. We're doing some manufacturing up here in the States as well. We've moved some of the stuff back on a smaller scale, but things are good right now. We don't have any big plans to make any huge changes. We're just gonna keep rocking.
Well, good for you. Good for you. I just thought of this, and you may not have an answer for it, but I'm curious, as a business owner that at some point, and listeners, this is me. This is not any indication. Nothing is actually for sale. But if you were selling your business, how does the fact that the manufacturing side of it taking place in Baja, what effect does that have on the potential sale of a business, if any at all?
It depends on the buyer of that business.
Sure.
So we've been approached by people, wanting that particular avenue to be able to have something turnkey down across the border without having to build it is quite valuable. But it really depends on what you would be manufacturing.
Sure.
For that, but it definitely is a pro for sure. It's definitely not a con to have manufacturing, in Mexico.
Yeah. And from a transportation standpoint, I'm just thinking about the route from Tecate into San Diego. I mean, the 94 is the obvious route because it's the most. It's connected. But when you're moving product across the border, are you allowed to go through the Tecate border crossing, or do you have to go down into Otay where the commercial crossing is?
No, there's a big commercial port there in Tecate, so everything flows from Tecate. Yeah.
Interesting. I did not know that. I've done small imports through Tecate and actually got turned around one time and told I had to go to Otay because I think I was importing textiles or something. But it was personal. It wasn't at a business level.
Yeah, it just depends. All the maquilas that are down there, as long as the tariff numbers are correct, you can cross anything through Tecate. So it's a large commercial port, and it's been much easier for us. I mean, we have used the Otay Mesa facility as well. I mean, they're open 24 hours a day, but it's nice to be able to do everything right there in Tecate because Tecate's so much smaller, and it's nice because you get to everybody. You see the same guys that are there, so it makes it nice. It's a lot different than down San Ysidro Otay.
Well, Steve, listen, I appreciate the time. I love the fact that I have this podcast because I get to talk to. It gives me an excuse to talk to a lot of different people about a lot of different things, and usually always somehow tied back to a place that is a part of who I am. So I appreciate your willingness to come on and talk about this. I am curious to know. Just as a parting piece of information, if you were going to give, whether it's business or just personal, I like to give listeners advice, tidbits of information, and it can be anything as simple as, hey, don't cross the border without Mexican insurance. But what's something that you are adamant about, or what would you recommend? What would you tell your kid if they wanted to go spend time in Mexico or start a business? Give me one little piece of advice that you'd give our listeners that they can. It's an action item or actionable piece of advice.
Oh wow, that's
I probably should have warned you about this beforehand, huh?
Yeah, well, no, I have a 17-year-old son, and he drives back and forth to the plant by himself. Yeah. So it's pretty cool. Yeah. So, I don't know what I would probably say is as you're going into any foreign country, especially Tecate it's a bedroom community of Tijuana. It's a magic town in Mexico. So Tecate it's a pretty special town. But as you cross, it's what I would say is have respect for the people as you're going in and speaking with people. Whether you're there, to go down and get some bread at the bakery, or you're going down to meet for a business meeting. It's have respect for the people that are down there. It's very different than the U.S. On that note, your generosity and you going the extra mile and being nice to people and genuinely respecting them is going to be a big factor in your success down there, whether you're grabbing tacos or you're doing anything.
Yeah.
So that's probably what I would leave, as a takeaway for people.
I think what I heard was a 4-letter word that's spelled KIND. Be kind.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right on, Steve. Well, listen, I appreciate the time and look forward to getting back across the border with you sometime here in the near future. I'm sure you've got plans to get back there soon, probably sooner than I'm going to be able to go, but I'll live vicariously through your adventures. And
perfect.
If listeners wanted to learn anything about your business, I did look it up earlier. Is it autovac.com? Like
Autovac Inc. AutoVacinc.com. Yeah, Autovac Inc. Yep.
And any possibility you're hiring right now?
We're always hiring.
There you go.
Hiring in the U.S. and hiring if they want to check out the Mexican plant. It's Auto Vac de Mexico. So that's on Google as well. They can see where the plant's at and kind of see on the map where we're at there down in Tecate as well. And anybody's welcome to give us a ping and stop by if they want to take a look at a factory down in Tecate.
Right on. Well, and I would also encourage. I'm watching the clock here, and we're bumping up on the 59 minutes part of it here. But as a guy who is experienced running business, starting business down there, are you available to people that are looking to do the same to give advice? I mean, if somebody found your phone number on the website and wanted to talk to you about, again, advice doing business down there, are you able and willing to do that within reason?
Yeah, definitely. No problem. Just you guys can give me a call or email me. So just you can just hit the info number at the website, and put in your request and it'll come directly to me, and I'd be willing to get back to anybody. I love talking about Baja, doing business down there, and can probably help them out, or at least point them in the right direction.
Sure. All right, Steve, listen, I'm going to let you go. Thanks again. This has been Steve Tucker and Ryan Thomas on the Baja Sessions. Tune in next week. And